Hello everyone. So this is the first attempt to make a video in English. We had made a few videos about the UK lifestyle or the childcare cost, nursery, the schooling system in Tamil in another channel, in a related channel. And there were a lot of requests from other parts of India and other Indians, who didn't understand Tamil, to make the video in English or to provide a subtitle for the same content because they found it useful. And this is a video where we were going to make a video about money tips in Tamil, and I thought this is a good opportunity to make a parallel video in English and publish it so that it'll be useful to people who didn't understand Tamil as a language, and they could refer to this video for the same tips. So let's begin by talking about the money tips. So we had divided this topic into 6 tips, more of money saving or money making tips. Now, this is not about reducing your expenses or reducing or investing your money. This is more about your regular lifestyle or your everyday life. What you can do to either save money or to make money out of the things that you do on a regular basis. The content is very similar to the content that I've made in Tamil, but the length of the content could be a little bit different to what we said, because I could have explained it a bit more slower or a bit more detailed. I'll try and do as much detailing as possible in this as well. So the first tip is about cashback. Now, one of the reasons I started these tips was because I was speaking to a few friends, and a few of them who had stayed in UK for a number of years hadn't been using these services or hadn't been getting advantage of these options in UK, and some of them weren't even aware of these options. So that was the reason I thought it's useful to make this content as a video, and so people could everyone who comes to UK, not just Indians, anyone who comes to UK can be useful, can get benefit out of this content. So the first tip is basically about cashback. Now, there's a difference between discount and cashback. Discount is when you go to a vendor or provider, buy their services, and they themselves provide you a rebate or a reduced cost of their services, which is discount. But let's assume the provider is giving you a service or a goods for say £100, and they're not going to reduce it, or even after the reduction of the discounts, it's still £100. Now, if you go and directly buy it from them, you spend £100 and that's it. But instead, if somebody else takes you to that store, say a broker or somebody who takes you to the store, they get a commission from the store, say about £10. And if they share a part of that commission, say £5 with you, then that £5, which is coming from an external source who's not related to you or to the store, that is basically cashback. So they are getting benefit from the store because of bringing volume or because of bringing revenue to the store, and it's like an internal advertisement for the store itself, and they are sharing that revenue with you. So it's basically like an advertiser sharing their revenue with you because you are buying the product through their advertisement. That's about it. Now there are some reputed cashback websites in UK, and there are some websites which are actually across the globe. Like for example, Top Cashback is one of the most common websites across the world, and there's a topcashback.uk, there is a topcashback.com in US. There's a new topcashback.in also in India, which is very useful for people in India also, not just people who come here. So what happens is, when you're going to buy anything, any product or any service, so you go, instead of going, say for example, if I'm going to buy a new internet connection, or if you're going to set up a new internet connection, now instead of going and getting the internet connection directly from sky.com or virginmedia.com or vodafone.com, you go to Quidco or you go to Top Cashback and you search up what is the cashback that they are giving. And obviously you need to make a judgmental call, which provider or which component is right for you. So Virgin Media might be available in your area, might not be available, so you need to basically look at what is available in your area as well. So I take Virgin Media as an example because that's one of the areas where you get the highest cashback, for example. Now, everyone who comes to UK will probably have a home broadband or a home internet connection. So Virgin Media is one of the highest cashback providers in terms of internet connection. So you will set up in UK it goes by a contract. So you'll have a 12-month contract or an 18-month contract. And if you sign up with a contract, so it could be paying like £40 per month or £50 per month, whatever is the internet connection, the TV package. The cashback that you'll get from Virgin Media is £250 through either Quidco or through Top Cashback. So this is just an example where you get very high cashback. Now there are a lot of cashbacks which are like lower percentage, could be like 2%, 3%, and you might think that it's not worth the effort, but it's actually a couple of seconds more effort to go to that website and then go to the retailer's website, and eventually this will all add up. So even if it is 2%, 3%, imagine doing this for the whole year, it'll add up to 200 to 300 pounds substantially. It's especially useful for travel, where you're booking for a hotel, hotels.com, booking.com. If you go to those websites and book your hotel, you'll get the same price, but instead if you just make an extra effort of going through Quidco or through Top Cashback, you'll get like a 10% cashback, sometimes even 12% cashback through these websites. And you get it for almost everything. It's like clothes purchases, you get it for you get it in Argos, you get it in Debenham, sometimes you get it in M&S, Next. Most of the famous retailers also do a cashback. Sometimes the first time cashback, sometimes the regular cashback. So even if it's a small percentage cashback, it all adds up. That's the first step basically. Now, all that I'm sharing with you is based on personal experience and what I have learned over the years, spending here. So the next step is about bank accounts. Now, there's a saying in English that you need to get your money to work for you. Now, what it means is that your money shouldn't be sitting idle in your bank account. That doesn't mean that you will have to invest it in a risky option like a stock or a share, or you have to lock it away in a fixed deposit or a recurring deposit where you can't use it on a regular basis. So you need to find the right balance where you can keep your money in your regular savings account, but you still get some interest out of it. Most of the high street UK banks, at least, do not offer any interest on your savings account, or if they offer, it is like very very tiny that it is hardly noticeable. For example, HSBC, even if you keep like £10,000, you'll get like £1 or £2 in the whole year, which is next to nothing. There are a few banks that offer good interest on savings account as well, but they are actually only up to a certain limit. For example, there are banks that offer 5% interest, but only up to like £2,000, and beyond that you get nothing. The option that I am going to suggest is the one that I use. It's Santander 123 account. They used to offer 3% interest till a few months back, wherein by doing nothing and maintaining the average balance in your account, you used to get about £600 tax-free interest just out of savings account. Now they reduced it to 1.5%, but that's still a very high £300 tax-free interest out of your savings account. Now that is if you maintain the whole balance of £20,000. Now if you're not able to maintain the entire balance, regardless of whatever your balance is, if you maintain £10,000, you still get the proportional interest rate. So if you maintain £10,000, you'll get like half of it, which is £150 in the whole year, which is quite substantial amount by just keeping your money in your savings account, which you use on a regular basis. And remember, this is the average balance, which means that if you ended up starting your month at 20,000 and you end up spending through the month, and you end up spending like £10,000, you still get the average balance of the month, and not what you end up with. So if you end up with £100 at the end of the month, you don't get interest just on the £100 alone. You get interest on the average balance through the month. And remember, like I said a few years back, the interest that you get on your bank account was taxed at the highest tax rate depending on what your income was. A couple of years back, they made it as tax-free. So every money that you get from your savings account interest is actually tax-free in UK. So that's the second tip. Now the third tip is basically a combination of the first and second, cashback and bank account. Now the other reason I would suggest Santander 123 account and similar accounts is for cashback from your bank account itself. Now The first step was about purchasing a service or purchasing a product, or something that you set up for the first time, or a hotel, or booking, or a tour that you go on. But what if you could get cashback on the essentials that you pay for, like the bills that you pay for? So like your utility bills, your electricity bill, your gas bill, your council tax bill, those kind of things. What if you could get cashback on that? So the Santander 123, the reason why it's named as 123 is because you get 1% cashback on your council tax bill, you get 2% cashback on your utility bills, and so on. So you get like a number of bills that you pay on a regular basis. You get a lot of cashback, and you can get a cashback of up to £15 if you utilize the utility bills, the gas bill, electricity bill, the water bill, the telephone bill, the mobile bill, the broadband bill. So everything you get a cashback. And on top of it, as an added bonus, if you buy a house and if your mortgage is with Santander itself, then you also get a 1% cashback on your mortgage amount, which is, if it's £1,000 mortgage that you pay on EMI, that you pay on a monthly basis, 1% of that itself is £10. So you could, without the mortgage, you could get up to £15, adding up all of this together, and that is again, going up to 150, £200 in the whole year if you use it on the right basis. Now there's a £5 fees for the Santander 123 account. So you need to calculate that you're going to get a benefit by the cashback on top of the £5. So if you don't pay your bills, or if you're living in a flat where you don't pay the bills and it's all included in the rent, then you're probably not going to get the full benefits of it. So you need to do your homework before you actually go and sign up for it. You can read up the details of it in the Santander website. That's the tip number 3. So tip number 4 is about insurance. Anyone who lives in UK would probably know this to an extent, but people who are coming new and people who don't know this might be useful for them. Now, living in UK, you would probably know that a lot of insurances are mandatory. Like, for example, if you own a car, then you need to have a car insurance as mandatory. If you own a house, then you need to have a home insurance as mandatory. Contents insurance is mandatory. And even if it's not mandatory, it's good to have contents insurance mandatory living in London. Now these insurances can be quite hefty. For example, you could buy a second-hand car for like £1,000, but the car insurance during the first year could go up to like £1,500 or £2,000 as well, if you're a new driver especially. Um, Going through the years, it is supposed to get cheaper theoretically, and you will also get a no claims discount if you don't have any accidents, if you're a safe driver. But generally what happens is that the insurance companies make money out of the renewal process. A lot of people do not find the make the effort to switch during the second year of renewal. You're tied into 1 year term with the insurance provider, and generally all of the insurance company, they try to increase the premium during the second year. This is because people don't make an effort to actually switch from one insurance provider to another insurance provider during the renewal period, and it's quite easy to get it renewed. And they might actually, sometimes they might ask for £50 more, £100 more, and that's when you end up keep on paying higher and higher. A lot of people do actually go around and search for it, but this is for people who are not aware of it. So in theory at least, if your insurance provider is quoting a renewal fees, and you go and do a comparison search across all the other providers, you will definitely find a cheaper quote than what the insurance renewal quote your provider is giving you. So always, every year, do not go by automatic renewal, or do not renew your insurance with the same provider unless and until it is cheaper or equivalent to every quote that you've got from your research or a search. Go and do a search. I mean, living in UK, you would have probably seen so many search websites like gocompare.com, moneysupermarket.com. You can go and do a research in all of these websites. Every year, try and switch your insurance provider. It will definitely get you a good savings from the renewal quote amount that your current insurance provider is providing. And connecting it back to the cashback, there is a comparison option in Quidco itself. Quidco is one of the top cashback sites of UK. Quidco have their own comparison website as well. And the advantage that you get is you can compare and you can get the cheapest quote. And when you buy it through the Quidco link or Quidco compare link, you still get a cashback on top of the cheapest quote as well. So that's a dual advantage by using the Quidco comparison website. Now I've given the links for Quidco, Top Cashback, all of them in the description as well. That's the fourth tip. Now, the fifth tip is more applicable to people who need to send money back either to India or to your home country on a regular basis. And this is more applicable to, in this specific tip is more applicable to India. Most of us who come from India, either on a short term or on a long term, we still have family in India and we still have commitments in India. And you probably keep sending regular payments back to India, either to your parents or to your friends or even for your own expenses. Now, most of the time we use traditional agencies like Western Union, or you can do it from your high street bank as well, like HSBC. But they all charge a transaction fees, and the exchange rate that you get is probably a little bit lower than whatever the prevailing exchange rate is. Now, one of the options is to use nationalized bank, SBI, State Bank of India. State Bank of India has got a branch in about 36 countries outside of India. So they have a branch in UK, in Europe, many of the countries, France, Germany. They have a branch in US, Australia. So a lot of countries have State Bank of India, and the advantage is that you probably get one of the highest exchange rates. That is, probably very close to what is quoted in the market, and you also have no transaction fees for the transaction that you make, for the transfers that you send to India. So, for example, Western Union could end up charging you £5 for every transaction, and that could end up like, even if you send on once a month, that could end up like £60 a month, which you can save, and you'll probably save a little bit on the exchange rate as well. And it's quite fast. If you send it in the morning, you'll get it probably by afternoon in India. So it is quite fast, like most of the other providers as well. So it's quite reliable, and opening an account is pretty easy. It's a quick process, and you don't need to live in the same city where the branch is. So, for example, in Australia, the bank is in Sydney, I think, and you don't need to live in Sydney to open a branch. We don't live in the city in which the SBI branches, but we were able to still open a bank account with SBI, and you can, after you opened your bank account, you mostly transact online, and it's quite easy to transfer money to India. So the last tip is also about exchange rates, but not transferring money to one country specifically. So most of us living in a country like UK would need to travel, or would be traveling to the other countries in Europe or elsewhere, and all of them have different currencies, and you would probably exchange your money in airport, or the high street counters, because it's quite easy to do. But what you don't realize is the exchange rate that they provide you is much lower than the standard exchange rate, and you could get a significantly higher exchange rate if you do it in advance in your post office, or in your own transacting bank like HSBC, for example. You can search this online as well and find out which is the provider that gives you the higher exchange rate. Now, that is only if you need to spend in cash. The easiest alternative, or the best alternative, is to spend using your debit card or your credit card. Now, word of warning, because most of the debit cards and credit cards, they also charge you a transaction fees. Now, despite giving you the highest exchange rate possible for the money transfer or the money exchange, they do charge a transaction fee. So the good option is to find a card, or find a bank which gives you a debit card or a credit card without any transaction fees, and then use it to either withdraw money from the ATM, or use it like a contactless Visa or Mastercard to pay in whichever country that you go to. So making payments using a card is actually going to give you the best exchange rate. And remember, when you make a payment, most of these card machines in Europe and elsewhere in most parts of the world will actually ask you, do you want to transact in local currency, or do you want to transact in GBP, which is your home currency? Now, always transact in the local currency, because what's happening is, if you transact in GBP, the conversion is done by the retailer itself, which is again lower. Now, if you transact in the local currency, the conversion is done by Visa or Mastercard, which is actually at a higher exchange rate. So always choose the local currency. For example, if you're in Europe, always say that transact in euros, which means that you'll get the best exchange rate by using your card in those countries. So those were the 6 tips that I wanted to share with you. And this is the first video that I've made in English, just because people had asked for it. So if you like this content, please share it with your friends, and subscribe and give me a like. And what I will do is, whatever content we've shared already, or whatever content that we thought of sharing with you guys, we'll keep posting more videos depending on the support that we get for this video. Thank you very much.